Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. Hello, Hannah. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's not a lot going on in Star Wars world, but it does feel good to get back into talking,
Yes.
again about it, even though there's not much to talk about. But, as we've done on this show, we find something, some way to waste time and
Hey,
talk about it.
last episode is a perfect example of that.
That's true. That's true. And this one might be the same. But first and foremost, before we get into some of this stuff, of course, thanks to our patrons as always. Continued support. Got a couple comments we got to get to on there from them. We're just ecstatic to keep doing the show, obviously. But as this first news thing will hopefully hint at more Star Wars coming, is that the strike is finally over.
Hallelujah.
Like just last Friday, I think, right?
Yeah, fairly recent.
Yeah. So there was a lot of back and forth, obviously, especially with this whole AI situation, which I know we're dealing with a lot at work, because it is something that is truly taking over. I mean, it's weird that, you have these stories and movies like The Matrix and iRobot, and you have these things that I've been hinting at AI and the, dare I say, dangers of AI. I mean, it is technically upon us now. And, you can kind of already see it. I don't know how many people that are listening that are experiencing this in their life now or their workplace, but, you can almost, I don't know if you can, Hannah, but you can almost sense this kind of almost dependency on needing it and using it. And that's where it kind of starts.
We're in Skynet. Like, Skynet is just down the road. The thing for me is that I feel like it's something like Uncle Ben once said, with great power comes great responsibility. I think AI can definitely be helpful in certain situations, especially in our line of work. But other times, I think it brings up a real ethical question.
It does.
And I mean, I'm an adjunct professor. And so I'm actually, next time I teach, I'm going to incorporate AI into one of the lessons, because that's going to be a part of the next generation's life. That's going to be a part of it. And so I feel like as long as we understand when it's appropriate to use and when it's not. Like, your wife's a teacher. Has she experienced anything yet with students trying to use AI to cut corners or anything? Because that's a big concern too, is that kids now have access to it.
Yeah, not so much her grade level, because she's just doing first grade. But my daughter, who's in middle school, is definitely experiencing it. They're trying their best to crack down on homework being done by AI. All of their work now is on a computer. It's not, there's no like handwritten homework anymore like there used to be. When they write something, it's typed. When they do math questions, it's all on a computer, so it's really weird. And that, now, I don't know how much they restrict it. I haven't really got into it because they all have Chromebooks, right? So it's all Google related. So, I mean, Google's got one of the biggest AI bots out there, right? I mean, it's going to be an issue. It's definitely going to be an issue. I think and obviously that's what I'm talking about with the strike. That was the last thing they hung up on, was this AI rights and about their likenesses. Like the studios wanted to be able to use a person's likeness in AI without paying them.
And that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Ridiculous. Yeah. I mean,
At
there's
that,
no way there's no way anybody can agree to that.
no, I mean, at that point, just create a person out of thin air, you know? But even then, like, even the whole thing where it's like, AI create this picture for me. There are a lot of artists out there that argue that that's copyright infringement because
Yeah.
technically AI is searching through all the images that are out there
Yes.
and combining them.
That's exactly right.
So it,
Yeah, I mean, technically, for example, this is just a little kind of inside baseball for our jobs, our actual paying jobs. We sit around sometimes and talk about new TV shows that we're trying to sell, and one of our coworkers has done a great job of sitting next to us, and when we come up with idea, he types this into an AI program that spits out some images that kind of resemble the show we're talking about or the idea we're talking about. And I remember one of them, if you remember, he did one where we talked about like celebrities doing odd jobs, not just odd jobs, but odd career jobs, like worker, like what if
for
Taylor
them.
Swift was a fireman, right? And he spit out this image of Taylor Swift in a fireman's outfit with a burning house behind her. And right there, when you look at it, it's Taylor Swift. So it's like, so you look at it thinking, that's copyright infringement, technically. I mean,
Yeah.
It's one thing to make it, but, we're not making money off of it. So I know there's not really any infringement yet. But the fact that we have it, it's scary to think what you can create. But there are people out there that are going to try to make money from it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's out there. It's accessible.
Yeah, like those images are just more or less to help create that visual for the idea. And that picture, it looked like it was an album cover. I mean, it was.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's just like AI can be fun. Is it fun to do that? Absolutely. But then when you try to make money off of it, that's when the ethics come into play.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
It's just, I still can't believe they even tried to do that. To be like, hey,
I know.
We pay you once for your likeness and then we'll use you in 1 million films and that's it. Like, that's just, I'm sorry.
That's horrible. Yeah. It's just bad. And I hope, I hope, which is going to be very hard to do because I just know, you kind of just get the sense of, you can kind of look back at history and understand that the human race just makes dumb decisions. and so, the proper way to contain this is I get it that it's going to be here. You're not going to get rid of it, but use it as an assist, an assistant in life, not the driving factor, or because technically we've in a sense been using AI. I mean, Google search is kind of an AI ever since the beginning, right? You type in something, it searches for it. Like you're basically typing stuff in and it's creating. The problem is the AI in a computer is one thing, but it's coming because we've already seen. I mean, there's robots that are being made and are being tested as conversation pieces and as part of life. And there's talks about more robot type humanoids in a sense that are going to be working jobs and things like that. And it's like it's getting to that, it's just going to get to that level of, I don't know, I hate to say it, like, again, like replacing humans, which is in the end, all those stories we see, all those movies we see of the end of the world of the human race and things like that. I know that's a dire thing to think of, but it's like, these are the early steps. This is like 30 years from now, they're going to be looking back like, maybe we shouldn't have done stuff like that.
Seriously. I mean, I think the biggest example is Sophia. And
yes.
She's been around for a while, but she's a conversationalist robot who said she wants to destroy the human race.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that the one that, isn't that the one that said that?
Yeah,
yes.
I literally Googled, because I couldn't remember her name. I literally Googled AI robot conversationalist who wanted to destroy the human race.
Yes.
She popped up.
And again, I know it's a movie, but it's like Ultron, right? When Ultron became aware, he was thinking the human race is just bad. I mean, there's these wars, they can't get along. There's all this fighting, and we just need to start over. And so I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard thing to think about, but
it is. I don't know what type of guy you are, but for me, I do believe that man is born evil. I do just personally believe that. So I like the human race. We're dumb idiots, and we're cruel, and we're greedy. Anything to get us what we want, and most of the time, that's money.
Evil is a pretty strong word. I wouldn't say evil.
Well, the contrast. It's either man is inherently born good, or man is inherently born evil.
Yeah.
Is that the Locke versus Hobbes?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I tend to try to believe that everybody is. Before, in a way, I used to think that I wanted to believe everybody was born good. Mm-hmm. But I think now that I've been here 45 years, it's like I feel like everybody's just born, and the way you grow up is what shapes your goodness or your evilness, in a sense. So anyway, and that's what I'm saying is I think this, AI is it's really going to shape a different era of humanity over the next dozen years or so. I mean, it's going to really be odd to see this.
Watch, all we have to do in the future is we just get AIs of ourselves. We pre-record something, and then...
Yeah. I know it. It's tough to think about. But anyway. Strike is over. The AI thing is somewhat settled as far as that goes. Along the lines of the strike being over, rumors are obviously flying around now about what's coming from Star Wars, what Lucasfilm, what does it have in the hopper getting ready to come out? Is there anything in the works? Rumor is right now that there is actually some possible shoots coming up for Mandalorian season 4, possibly.
Yes, I did see rumors about that.
Yeah. Obviously, no one knows anything for certain. I mean, we know technically that the next series that was supposed to be released is Skeleton Crew, but we have yet to see any teasers or trailers or anything from that. So who knows if that's happening soon or not.
Maybe they'll do it as a Black Friday or Thanksgiving thing.
I do think something's going to come, but before the end of the year. Yeah. I think they've got to start announcing some things, because you've got Skeleton Crew. You obviously got the Acolyte on deck somewhere. Season 4, Mandalorian may be shooting. You got Andor that needs to finish. Season 2 needs to finish. The Bad Batch, have they been working on the Bad Batch? Because technically they weren't on strike, right? The actors were on strike, but the animators weren't. So you can definitely animate still and build the show and just not have the voices yet. So that didn't seem like it was probably going to be as delayed, if anything. But I think that's the last season, right? That we're getting is the third season is the last one.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's the last season. So, still a lot of Star Wars to come. Just don't know when it's coming. But I do think they've got to, because it's it's slow when, I mean, I pretty much go to StarWars.com every day, and for the last 2 weeks it's been the same thing. There's nothing been really added on there, so even they're kind of just slowly waiting this out and figuring out what they're doing, it seems like. So
yeah.
So anyway, that is in the middle of figuring out what they're going to come out with today. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. Yesterday was the official start of Phase 3 of the High Republic, with the release of the novel The Eye of Darkness. I think comics have also come out too. The new Phase 3 comics. So all that's kicking off right now. So, again, in the publishing world, there is some Star Wars stuff happening. But other than that, that is pretty much all the news that I know about, right? I mean,
I haven't seen anything else.
So one thing I did want to bring up to you, which I thought you want to talk about AI.
Uh-oh.
I came across this image on, I don't even know if it was Twitter or might have been Facebook, but I'm going to show you this image.
Uh-oh.
Can you see that?
Yes. Aren't there rumors about a second season of Obi-Wan?
Yeah, there's some like fake posters that someone's.
Yeah.
So I saw this though. This was nothing. This was nothing that I was saying in season 2. This was someone just saying this would be a great series if it was Obi-Wan and his love for Duchess Satine. So if anybody the podcast listeners, I held up this image. I'll post it. I might post this on our page.
I would.
It's Clone Wars Obi-Wan. And it's Ewan McGregor. It's like a live action shot holding Duchess Satine, who looks like it's played by Cate Blanchett. And I'm telling you, when I look at this, when I first saw this, I didn't know how much I wanted it until I saw this.
I want that.
Do you really? So is that because so the one thing I wanted to kind of really talk about in this episode, Hannah, which again I didn't, I surprised you with that, but I was trying to think back of the shows we've had, right? We've had Mandalorian, Andor. I'm talking about live action. Mm-hmm. Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. What's the other one I'm missing?
Ahsoka. Wait, no, you said Ahsoka. Shoot.
Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Ahsoka. No, maybe that's it.
Is that really it?
There's only 4? I think there's only 4. Or maybe I'm just going crazy.
I think you're right.
No, I thought there was 5. Why am I forgetting a dang show? Andor, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Oops.
So 5. Yeah.
Speaking of, with him
Speaking of, so 5 shows. We've got the 5 shows. And then, of course, you have the sequel trilogy, right? Of movies, and you have Andor, or not Andor, you have Rogue One, and you have Solo. Now, if you think about it, of all these new Disney stuff that we've gotten, where is the love story in any of that. And Solo is kind of the only one I can think of that has, his childhood crush with Kira. And so.
Did you forget about Rey and Ben?
But see, that wasn't like a love story. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm thinking back to the original trilogy. You had Han and Leia, right? I'm thinking of the prequel trilogy. You had Padme and Anakin. There was, and I kind of just thought about that through like the sequel trilogy, like you just said. Like there was maybe hints of things, but there was no conclusion of this couple that are together now, right? Mm-hmm. So I was kind of just thinking, do you miss that at all? Do you think that is something Star Wars is missing right now? Because when I see this image, I'm like, man, that is, and we got a little bit of that in the Clone Wars series, right? There was obviously hints of a romance there that Obi-Wan didn't follow through with and things like that. And it was a good contrast to what Anakin was going through. But now that I look at that, I'm like, man, conflict, this Jedi Mandalorian and the Jedi, it's like that, man, I want to see that.
Absolutely. I think the reason why I want it so badly is because it kind of shows why Obi-Wan was so protective of Anakin and was so kind of accepting of him, because you and I suspect that Obi-Wan knew about him and Padme. Like there are hints throughout the Clone Wars that he knew. But it just shows like he understood that, because if I remember correctly, he was willing to give up going to the Jedi Order. He was willing to give it up for her. Mm-hmm. And she said no. So he's like, okay. And I think that would be such an interesting contrast. And I think you're right. I think with Star Wars, there is always that element of romance in there, because, you want to create a conflict. Romance is normally the best way to go, because it's a very simple way to go. It's a conflict a lot of people understand. I feel like the sequels didn't really do a good job with whatever they were doing with that. But I agree with you. I think that's something that we're missing. I mean, even if you look at Andor with Mon Mothma, it's very clear she's not romantically in love with her husband. That is very clear. Right. So we don't even have that. In Andor, we do have a little bit of like a past relationship type of thing, but nothing that's like Leia and Han. So I don't know if it's necessarily
nothing that's building, right? You have, like Mothma's already married. That romance was a past story. Andor and was it Bix?
Think so.
So, like you said, maybe a fling they had before. Maybe it's something right now, but it didn't really get there. So. But and you're right. It does create conflict, but it also creates tension, and it creates this. It gives characters a lot more motivation and a lot more fear of loss, right? Because like Empire. I mean, just the fact because in Empire, the whole time you're thinking, this barrier has been up on Leia. Like, I'm not getting involved with you. I'm not getting involved with you. But then all of a sudden, when he's about ready to possibly die, she's like, "Hey, I love you." It's like, it's just adds so much to the emotion of the scene, and it gets you invested also in that storyline. Like, what's going to happen? Are they going to get together? Are they? So, and it's so weird because I'm thinking years later, right? The sequel trilogy, and that's something I don't think I really ever thought about or meant or just contemplated what was missing out of that. And that's, to me, that might be something that was missing out of that.
I agree. I think it was. Because Star Wars is about family. Star Wars is about fathers and their families. And Star Wars is about love, whether it's a platonic love, a family
Very
love,
much
a
so.
romantic love. That is a very central theme of Star Wars. And yeah, I think that's the first time I think I've ever thought about the romance side of Star Wars, in the sense of it's been missing for a while.
It has. Yeah. And, and it has, like you said, I think what's kept it, I think what it has kept is that sense of family. I do think they have done that. I mean, every one of these series, every one of these movies have had that Star Wars family together. Even the games with Cal Kestis and that group, it's more family related. Now, that there was a little bit of romance there, I guess, in Jedi Survivor.
Oh, there totally is. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right. So that was good to see. I mean, that was that was good. That was really good to see. So yeah, it doesn't have to. I'm not saying always has to be there, but some sense of it should.
Yeah.
Like you said, even if it's father son or father daughter or mother kids, whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's just.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually like the whole theme of love. I feel like was missing from the sequels.
Yes.
And I think the reason why I love Poe and Finn so much in The Rise of Skywalker is you sensed that platonic bond between the two of them. How much they really cared for each other.
Yeah.
And how that really. So yeah, I think the theme of not necessarily the act of love of putting someone else before you, but the bond of love, I feel like was missing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with our protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff, because this Obi-Wan and Satine thing would be, I don't know, that would be something to explore. I mean, I wouldn't mind that at all. I wouldn't mind going further back and seeing that.
Hey, Disney, you listening?
I know, right?
Great idea.
I know. Yeah.
Now, with our line of work, let's just sell them the idea.
Let's just do it. Just do it in AI.
Yeah, there you go. Done. No problems there.
Because Ewan is probably too old to play that young of an Obi-Wan, but that would be something you can deep fake, I guess, or maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a theme definitely George always thought about, because even when they were doing the Clone Wars series, there was a lot of Anakin and Padme type, moments that love that they established in Attack of the Clones.
There's even that whole episode where she went away with this guy on a supposed date, and Anakin snuck along because he's like, "That's my wife."
That's right. Yes. He almost choked him out, I believe, right?
He did.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So maybe, but it doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like the stories are going to be there. That, Skeleton Crew doesn't seem like it's going to have something,
Acolyte might.
Acolyte could. Acolyte could. Yeah.
Oh,
Acolyte could.
imagine the couple if they fall in love and then one of them turns up being the Sith.
Death, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. So can't wait for that show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. That's all I got. That's all I wanted to kind of. Yeah. I saw that image the other day and I was like, you know what? That's just something I haven't thought about in a while. Is like you said, the love in Star Wars, or that bond is. Yeah.
I mean, it's very clear in the books, at least. Like, and maybe that's why I never really thought about it, because I always got that through books.
That's true.
A good chunk of the books out there have that romance in them. Mm-hmm. So, or they have that bond, that love bond.
Like Dark Disciple. Like,
yes,
that was incredible.
So good. It was so good.
Right? But again, that was a George Lucas story.
Yeah.
Right? Originally, it was Clone Wars episodes.
Make that an animated movie.
Oh my God. They totally do. They totally need to do that. So you're right. And like I said, the games too, they've kind of extended that with Kestis and Marin.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, but not everybody's experiencing that,
Yep.
Okay, so that's that. Like I said, the Eye of Darkness came out this past week, so Phase 3 of the High Republic has started. Of course, next week on some comics, you got Bounty Hunters number 40 and Dark Droids D Squad number 3, and then the end of this month, Obi-Wan Kenobi, who we've been talking about, number 3, which is the adaptation of the series, comes out. Let's see, comments from our last episode. Oh, did you want to mention the little Pedro Pascal news that you saw?
Oh, that I saw that may or may not be true.
I think it is confirmed.
I think it's confirmed. He's going to be, I think, playing Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four franchise.
Mr. Fantastic, yeah.
Did not see that one coming.
Not at all. Yeah, because in relation to the Mando season 4 we're talking about, I did also read that he definitely will not be in the suit if they do it. That he's strictly going to be the voice, and that's it.
Yeah, I've also read that he wants to take a step back from Star Wars. Now, once again, that's a rumor, not confirmed. Rumors tend to not be true. But it is, I think the unique thing about The Mandalorian is that it's called Mandalorian for a reason. You don't have to focus on one Mandalorian.
True. Yeah,
so it could be this shifts to become
Bo-Katan show.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, how would you feel about this?
Uh-oh.
If, it seems like, because I think in season 3, I'm not sure if he was even in the...
He wasn't.
Did we ever see his face? I don't think we ever saw his.
We never saw his face. He was not on set because I think there were scheduling conflicts with The Last of Us. So there's a very cool picture of him doing VO in a theater, and he's holding a pillow pretending it's Grogu as he's speaking into a microphone, and Jon Favreau is sitting right there. It's a great photo.
So that's my question, is if he's not going to be in the suit anymore. And so that, pretty much means if he's in the story, Din Djarin will never take his mask off.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I'm pretty sure they have the ability, because we're in this business too, they could AI generate his voice.
They absolutely... Scammers are now at the,
Would you be against that? Because he would be
yeah.
getting paid now. Would you be against that?
Yeah, because AI is not real. Like in our business, we sometimes use AI voiceovers to help us, like, do scratch track and things like that. There are still tricks that you have to do to make it sound human. Sometimes it works like a charm. Other times you really have to finagle it. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, because scammers are even at the point now where you just say a little bit into a phone or they get a hold of your voice and they could pretend
Yes.
they're you calling your grandma asking for money.
Yep. Or calling your bank
Calling your bank. Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, it's terrifying. So I hope they don't do that, because in my mind, AI is not real. Like, it's real, but it's not going to be the same as if a human did it. Does that
Right.
make
Yeah.
sense?
Sure.
So I hope they don't do that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think if you're gonna get paid, you gotta do the work.
Yep.
I mean, I get it that they can use your AI image or like an AI for something if you can't do it. You know what I mean? Like if they need a pickup shot of you and whatever, they can somehow use AI to create it and still pay you, and because you can't make it, that's one thing. But to say use AI instead of and still pay me, then I might have an issue with that.
Yeah, I'll be like, no.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, there you go. Pedro looks like he's going to be Reed Richards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A couple comments from our last episode, which was, if you remember, Hannah, it was kind of a Revan. We were talking a lot about a Revan.
Yes, and Keanu Reeves and.
Yes. So just one quick comment from Old Republic podcast ORP says excited for the Acolyte. And then you had Thrawn Addict. Our buddy Thrawn Addict says, great discussion. I would love a Revan film or show, but keep him/her in the Old Republic timeline so we can finally get that time period.
Yes.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you as well, Hannah. Would love to see a Sith Academy like we saw in the Bane novels. I agree with you both with the Disney era of Star Wars. There has been some hits and misses for sure, but in each show or film, there have been some awesome moments that we can now call canon. I'm a massive fan, so I enjoy all of Star Wars, but the height of my fandom was between Rogue One and The Last Jedi, because I loved The Force Awakens and Rogue One. It was so excited where it was going. I'm sorry, Hannah. I still love Mandalorian season 1, but there were a couple of just okay episodes in my opinion, like the Tatooine Bounty Hunter episode and the Village episode, but still love the series as a whole. Thanks again to you both. May the Force be with you. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got a comment on Patreon here from our friend Darth S&M on our last episode. It says, been a little bit for me. Work is oppressive like the Empire right now. Thanks for putting in the work, y'all. Much appreciated to have some content in these dark times. Ever since episode 413, I've been trying to nail down my rankings. Turns out I can't. I love it all so much. Some is not as good as the others, but it still gives me that dopamine hit. How I decide if a series, season, episode, or movie is higher on a good scale is if it does one or all of the following things. Number 1, makes me jump off the couch and stand so close to the TV that I can't even miss the smallest detail. Watching the scene over and over. For example, Luke's entrance in Mando season 2. Number 2, cements itself in my mind's eye. I find myself daydreaming about the moment or moments often with nothing to bring it up. It just starts playing in my inner theater. That means it had an impact. Example, there's a scene in Andor when they're preparing for the heist. There's a shuttle that comes flying to the Empire base way off in the background. It is even a little out of focus. I see that scene in my head often. It had the same feeling of standing near an airport and planes are just rolling in. It was an everyday type of happening in the Star Wars universe. That is what Andor brought us, a look into what the regular folk, non-Force users, were doing. That moment sticking in my head moves the show up in the rankings. That's an interesting take. Interesting. The simple moments like that. It's good. And number 3, makes me shed a tear. Whether it be an emotional moment or something just so badass that yelling and jumping around isn't enough. This also happened during the Luke defeat Death Trooper droid scene in Mando 2, but also when the Chimera made its entrance in Ahsoka. It is almost like that feeling of pride when your lightsaber lights up, your first time building it. On top of the aforementioned scenes, there are a few others that stuck with me. Obi-Wan and Vader fight scene in the Obi-Wan series. Possible spoiler, Hannah. Boba Fett riding the Rancor. You probably knew that, right? Yeah.
Did you know that? No, I did not know that, actually. The only thing in the entire show that wasn't spoiled for me has been spoiled. It's my own fault. Yeah. It's my own fault.
Well, now you know. There you go.
Oh man, now I gotta watch it for that. I'll just YouTube.
Yeah, just watch the last episode. He says Marva's hologram speech in Andor. Ben running to help Rey and fighting the Knights of Ren. That's a movie, but still. Grogu lifting the Mudhorn in season 1. The swarm of Mandos in Mando season 3. And then Ahsoka's samurai style kill of Marok. He says, I can go on, but this is just a few that came to me now. I find that ranking things this way keeps me less disappointed and helps guide me into what to watch again. I use the same rankings for horror movies. If they make me jump, be wary of the dark, or look at mirrors, then they were a great horror flick. Thanks for keeping the party rolling. Till next time. That's an interesting way to do it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And maybe at that point, you rank your favorite moments.
Yes.
Of Star Wars. Totally. Because, like, I completely agree with the whole idea that, and I know that Thrawn Addict also mentioned this as well, there are moments throughout every single thing of Star Wars that make you go, like, there are. But everything that surrounds it can sometimes impact your overall view of it. So maybe that is the way to look at it. Maybe it's more important to look at what are your favorite Star Wars moments versus what's your favorite Star Wars series or movie.
True. Yeah. Yeah, he just kind of made me think of, because I don't know if I mentioned this like in my rankings, but like one of my favorite moments that stands out constantly, and it kind of goes back to this love thing that we were talking about, but the bond that Obi-Wan and Leia created, like in the Obi-Wan series, and it's only because, you know, he knew her parents, right? I mean, to me, that was so powerful. And in the scene, the moment that stands out the most is at the end when he's describing her parents to her. Like, that still kind of brings tears to my eyes. I mean, it's such an incredible moment. And you can just see the love he has for Anakin and Padme. You know, not necessarily Leia, but he sees so much of them in her, and you can tell she's kind of fallen in love with Obi-Wan and what he stands for, and that the fact that he did know her parents and things like that. I mean, it's a powerful moment.
It is.
Pretty good stuff. All right, thanks everybody for hanging out with us for episode 415 here. And even though there's not a lot of Star Wars to talk about, but, you know, we find something to talk about, right? So,
Yeah, it all worked out. I was sick last week, so it all worked out time wise.
yeah, it all works out. So, all right. Well, we'll be back. I guess is next week Thanksgiving? Next week's
Next
Thanksgiving.
week is Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving,
So
anyway.
yeah. So we might have to figure out what we're going to do there, but I don't know what we'll talk about your plans and my plans, and then we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk.
But we will. If any case, we will have a new Beyond the Saga next week for you all. So that'll be out there for you all. And then more stuff to come. So thanks everybody. Thanks you again to our patrons, patreon.com/inside the force. If you want to check us out there.
Thank you.
Hope everybody, if we don't see you or you don't hear us next week, hope everybody has a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. Be with your families, hang out, watch Star Wars, do all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Dave.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. May the force be with you.